Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Yesterday, we celebrated Father's Day, but it is no secret that Black fathers are both undervalued and underappreciated, as are Black men in general in this country. So because of that, I wanted to share excerpts from previous interviews with my sons, Haidar Muhammad and Qahhar Muhammad, sharing not just life lessons that they've learned from their father, but also, and more importantly, the value that they recognize that fathers play in the lives of their children. I know, sister, that society and media encourages us, Black women, to do it alone. But the souls of our children are crying out for the stability that a whole family provides. We need fathers and even father figures in the absence of dad in the homes. Our sons and our daughters require that key male figure. We are imbalanced without him. So please enjoy this episode with Haidar and Qahhar Muhammad sharing life lessons from their journey, and more specifically, lessons they learned from their dad. Welcome to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. And as it is Take Your Daughters and Sons to Work Day, it is my pleasure to have my sons in the studio of the Nora Speaks podcast. And this segment, we have my son, Haidar Muhammad. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you were compliant in joining me. I would much prefer to have you here as a guest on the podcast than to actually take you into work with me. I think that the work that I do during the day is beneficial and it has rewards, but what I strive to do with the podcast has much more meaning to me. So I'm grateful that you joined me. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Good. So Haidar, the audience knows a bit about me. The audience knows I have two sons. But tell the audience about yourself.
Well, first of all, I have my mother right here and my father, my younger brother, who will be here soon, I guess. And I'm 17 years old. I'm a junior at Mom's University of Islam. I ran track for Camden High School. And that's about it.
Okay. Well, that's enough. So, Haidar, one of the things that I am grateful to have in you as a son is to have someone that is responsible. You're very resourceful. And one of the things that I pride greatly is that you have very good character. And I'm not just saying this because you're my son, but, as I was raising you and your brother, it was always important to me that you would have, or that my children would have many qualities, but chief among them would be really good character, being good to yourself, being good to others. And you manifest that in so many different ways. One way that I would like you to talk about is your role in the youth leadership program that we have in the city of Camden. And you've been instrumental in that program since you've been a part of it. So talk to us about your role there.
Well, when I first ever went to the youth forum, I wasn't even a member at the time. I'm pretty sure it was me and Qahhar, and you brought us along with you.
Yes.
And we were just kind of in the back, in the cut. And we were watching Hafiz and Hanif and Anissa and Hasiba actually do the whole, the prosecutor and all that stuff. And I just thought it was cool with the idea of a bunch of people that don't know each other, just being thrown into an event, and now y'all got to work with each other. Y'all get to talk to each other, and I always thought that was like a cool thing to do, because I don't. Back then, I was a little more reserved, but I'm not. I like the idea of just being thrown with a bunch of people and learning about them and having different point of views and talking about different types of things, because you don't know what might interest you that they might have or what I had that might interest them.
Yeah. I have to say, you have always been pretty good about being in a new place, in a new space with new people. You've not been very hesitant, and it seems like you get very comfortable quickly. You kind of find your lane, you find your niche within the group. And you did. You started off as someone that was more reserved. I won't say shy, but definitely more reserved, a little more introverted. And very quickly, you developed into this extroverted young man that I didn't know. So, how did the program help you with that, kind of coming out of your shell a bit?
I think it was the exposure with different people, like I was talking about earlier. During that time, I was always around the same friend group all the time, around the same people all the time. I didn't have other people coming in and out. I saw the same people every day. So I kind of just got used to those same people. And then being thrown into that environment with a bunch of people that I don't know, I was like, it was weird. It was different. But I just felt, okay, so now this is different. I kind of have to adjust to it, because there's a bunch of people that I want to see what they think about certain things. I want to talk to them. I want to sit here quiet. And that's kind of it's uninteresting. You don't. It's not as fun, I guess.
Okay. So, how would you describe yourself if you had a friend that was telling another friend, their friend, about you? What would you want them to relay about you? Your qualities, some traits about you, some features. What are the first few things that you think they should say if they were introducing Haidar?
That's kind of hard. I guess I'm not like an angry person. I like to look at different people's point of views of things. I like talking with different people and being in different environments that I haven't been before, like trying new things. And I think that's a good.
Okay. Okay, so within your peer group or your group of friends, I've noticed that you definitely have some leadership qualities. So what does it mean for you to be a leader and a role model and an example for your generation?
You have to have patience, and you have to know how to deal with each person in that way. You can't deal with everyone the exact same way. You have to kind of see it from their point of view. You have to make it so, okay, I understand your point. Just because she's saying this and he's saying that doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong. Maybe y'all could both be right. So then let's sit here and figure out what's what. Stop screaming, stop cursing.
So you find yourself being like a mediator often?
Yes, that's usually what ends up being. And it's just you have to see it from their side, and also you have to. What I usually do is relay it from an outside point of view, or I line what they're going through, and I put it in front of them, kind of. So they're saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they did this to me. They shouldn't have did that. They shouldn't have reacted that way. They need to be more responsible." And I say, "Okay, so imagine you walk across the street and someone hits the back of your car, like how you did them. How would you react?"
Right.
And that usually helps them put it into perspective, because nowadays it's, oh man, we got to fight instantly. Well, at least he didn't try and fight you. At least he got upset.
Right. So that brings me to another point. I heard you on a radio show recently, and someone asked you about the young brothers that are in the streets and what is attracting them to what some call gangs, some call street organizations. And you said something I thought was very profound, and you talked about the structure. So could you explain that?
When I say something about the structure, and I've been talking about this or had this talked to me about a lot, and I also, when I first really got into the subject, was not even anywhere special like school. It was at after track practice, they were having an event, and they asked some of the boys to come through and listen. And he asked us the same question asking me, what do you think attracts them to that kind of culture? And a lot of the boys, they didn't come up like how I came up. They have certain friends that may live that lifestyle, or brothers, like they're kind of closely linked. But one thing that I found out is all the negative stuff that people keep bashing on them about, it's secondary. It's always secondary. They'll go there because either my dad's doing it, my brother's doing it, my friend's doing it, because they want to feel like they're a part of something, a part of a structure. And also,
So you're saying like the behavior, the activity, which
yes,
may be criminal, that's secondary, but the primary thing is the structure.
that's what attracts, especially, I can't speak for women or girls or females. I always try and talk from like the male side of point of view. Seeing structure as men, as boys, that's very appealing. It's very, okay, a bunch of guys ended up coming out a dark black SUV, all wearing jet black suits and the same colored tie. That sounds, people gonna be like, oh, who are they? Instantly. You're not gonna, what Safdar said is same, I think on the radio show, talking about he was waiting in line to get ice cream for his mom, and one of the boys, two boys on bikes, they rode past. He was like, oh, he must be rich.
Because
Because he was wearing a suit. He didn't end up taking the suit off. And that kind of structure just attracts children. And whether they're younger or older, is the kind of structure. Because nowadays, I think why it attracts us so much is because it is so lacking.
great point. Okay, well, that brings me to another thing I wanted to talk to you about. So, as you know, I wasn't raised by either of my parents, and so I didn't have I had father figure, but I didn't have a father in my life that raised me. And your father didn't have his father the way he would have wanted to have his father. And so here you are growing up in a two-parent household, interacting with your father on a daily basis. So tell me and tell the audience, those of us who have not had a father in the home, especially the males who haven't had a father in the home, what did we miss? What did we miss out on?
A lot. I'm gonna start off with something recent. I asked my dad to drop me off at track practice, and he was in the middle of talking to me. I call them dad talks. And whenever I talk to anyone about it, they always know exactly what I'm talking about. A dad talk is basically when you bring up something small like, hey, Dad, do you want some water? And then, or Dad, can I get the remote right quick? And then all of a sudden he switches up, and now he's talking about something else completely. But it's not just random. It's like, it's still knowledgeable, but it comes from something, the smallest thing, like, oh, this I saw this nice car the other day. He's like, see, that's why you should be investing and starting now to build up for now, because you don't want to wait till you're my age to realize, okay, I should start being responsible. And
Dad talks.
Yeah, that's what a dad talk is.
Okay.
But my dad, he kind of brought the structure. Like, no offense to you, but after a certain while, mom saying something doesn't have the same effect as dad saying something. And I think you can see that in, like, especially our community now. After a while, mom saying something does not have the same for boys. I'm only can talk from a boy's point of view. Mom saying the same thing or saying something is not the same as dad saying it. Because when mom says it, mom's always like loving, and I'm saying she's I'm not gonna you snapped on me a few times when I was younger. I'm not gonna say you haven't, but I know it didn't take dad to snap on me for me to end up trying to pray that he thinks and hope that I'm asleep before he gets home. It's when I say he brought the structure, he made it so he set everything up and said, okay, if you don't follow this, there's gonna be an issue. And then reinforced it with, I'm not gonna play, I'm not your age, I'm not playing with you, I'm not gonna do any of this. I'm telling you how it is. This is how it's going to be, and you're not straying from this. And I think that helped me a lot because I'm still doing, and most of the things that he talked about, I'm experiencing now. So he kind of like, from a young age, it's more like he set me up to succeed.
Oh, that's beautiful. What do you have to say to the audience in closing?
I guess the most important thing that I could say, and I think it can apply to everybody, stop being afraid. And when I say certain things like that, because when I talk to people, my peers and stuff like that, when they say, oh, this is hard or something like that, I usually tell them, and I got this from you and dad, okay, then just stop. Or with certain things that say it doesn't, you saying it's easier than it being done. And I'm like, it might be, but if you really want it that bad, then it's not going to be that hard to get it. Because if you're going towards a path, no mess ups, going straight towards what you want, the only thing that could stop you from getting it is you. And I realize that, especially in our communities, the number one thing for people my age or older is fear. People are scared to speak up. People are scared to do what they want to do or achieve what they want to achieve because they'll think, I'm scared that I might lose this. I'm scared that I might not go all the way through with it. I'm scared that anything. But if you're doing what you want to do, then you shouldn't be afraid. If you have something that you want to be, then you shouldn't be afraid to be that or get that or anything. So I guess what I want to say is just lose the fear.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being a wonderful guest.
Thank you for having me.
I am joined by my son, Qahhar Muhammad, for part 2 of this series. And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm glad that you're here on the podcast, Qahhar. You and I talk a lot, and I'm very interested in you sharing your insights, your personal insights, how you see the world as a young man growing up in urban America and seeing the needs of our people. So I'm interested in you sharing with the Nora Speaks listeners, what you have in you to share. But let's just start off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself. What would you like to share?
I'm 15 years old. I go to Muhammad University of Islam. I run track and wrestle for Camden High, and I'm a lifeguard in training.
Great, you're a lifeguard in training.
Yes.
So we were talking a little bit before the mic was hot, just about your journey, you becoming a lifeguard and, what a major responsibility that is. So what are some things that you've learned in your lifeguard training that you didn't know before?
I gained a whole lot of discipline and focus, and I also gained a whole lot of respect for lifeguards because their job isn't just sitting around and waiting for something to happen. Their job is to prevent things from actually happening. So when I was younger, I used to always go to the beach, and I was like, the lifeguards are just sitting there doing nothing. No, they're observing every single thing that's going on. They don't want anyone to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. So you found that this training has helped you to be a better observer?
Yes, a better observer. It teaches us to use all of our senses.
Okay, so this will be your first year as a lifeguard. You excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's kind of scary at the same time because it's like if something happens to someone while you're lifeguarding, it's your responsibility to help them out. You know, you can't just sit there and do nothing. You're not one of the bystanders. You have to get in there and get your hands dirty.
Great. So I think that kind of ties into your role in the community as a youth leader,
Right.
kind of not being a bystander, but a leader is somebody that not just disseminates information, but also is a role model or an example in how to behave. So as you've been a member of the youth leadership program, how have you seen yourself grow into the role of a youth leader?
Confidence. And I did notice a lot of, younger people, they look up to me for all kinds of things, especially the kids at my old program. They would always ask me questions about how I got these muscles, or how did I make it so far in the sports that I play.
So the young people that you've worked with look up to you, ask you
Yeah.
questions. So how do you see your responsibility in exhibiting positive behavior to them?
Just setting a good example, making sure that they go down the right path. If they do something wrong, correct them, but not in like a judgmental kind of way, more in like a mentor. You gotta, if they do something wrong or bad, you're not like, what is wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? Because they don't know. You can't snap on someone because they don't know what they're doing is wrong.
So one of the things that I've asked previous youth leaders that I've had on the podcast is how can your generation, your generation faces a lot of challenges, which, I want to talk to you about, shortly. But for now, what do you see as what your generation needs from the previous generations? Because we, as mentors, as coaches, as parents, we think and we know some things that you need to know and need to do. But as you all are looking at us, what would you say that you all need from us that we might not know about?
I feel like a lot of us today, we don't feel like you guys really understand us in a way, because I feel like a lot of people from the older generation, they expected us to be just like them, but we're not. And a lot of them don't like that. So understanding is one thing. And also, a lot of us need fathers. Because a lot of fathers, they don't want the responsibility of having a child, so they just leave. And now the kids that were without the father in the home, we're undisciplined. We have a whole lot of hatred, self-hatred, and the mothers, they end up hating the father, so they end up taking the anger out on their child, which is not a good thing.
Wow, so that's a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah.
So something I asked your brother, and you've kind of led me right into this question. One of the things I asked your brother about is, what you've gained being raised in a two-parent household. That I wasn't raised in a two-parent household, as you know, and your father wasn't. And there are many who are listening, as you acknowledge, are not being raised in a two-parent household with their mother and father. And I promote family on the podcast. I promote parenting in a marriage as the most stable way to parent. So what are families or what are children missing? And the reason why I'm asking you this, son, is because society has been suggesting to us for a while that we don't need family to have children. We don't need a father in the home to raise children. It's very optional, right? So what can you share with the audience about the necessity of being parented in a two-parent household?
Stability and showing what a man should be like. If a man has the courage to actually stay and help raise a family, that shows a lot. Like, just that shows a lot. And also, showing what a man should be like. A lot of young men, they usually always they find it in someone else, but they don't always find it in the right person. Some people find it in their coaches. Some people find it in gangs, and yeah, we need the right leadership, because we don't really know what a man is. A lot of us don't really know what a man is. We don't know what it should look like. So that's one thing, and yeah. There's something else that's on my mind, but I can't really think about it right now.
Well, while that comes to you, what would you say to a young woman who, relationships have their ups and downs, and we've gotten pretty accustomed to feeling as if, fathers or, that male figure in a child's life is optional and almost disposable. We kind of can think of that as a revolving door. Imagine there's a woman that's outside the studio right now listening to this. What would you say to her if she's really considering cutting ties with the father of her son, her daughter, because they're just not getting along, not because there's a health or safety, not because there's abuse or some kind of trauma, but just because we're just not getting along? What would you say to her, or what would you say to him, to the father?
I would say, you did this, so you need to be there. First of all, it's your child, and everyone needs that extra support, especially that child. It needs support from their mother and their father, even if they're not together. Like even if it's just both in their lives, a child needs both parents to be raised properly.
Okay, thank you for that. But I want to thank you again for being on the podcast and sharing that, and just talking about yourself. Each episode, I close the podcast by saying, don't just join the movement, be the movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful to see that you and your brother are both living your lives, being the movement, trying to do your best to be the solution and not the problem.
Right.
To make a positive contribution and impacts in your community. So how would you encourage others to make their own impacts, and why might it be necessary for them to make an impact?
Clean up your community. When you see trash on the ground outside, pick it up. Be there for your people.
Mm-hmm.
Support them. Make sure your children, the people in your community, are going down the right path. If you see anything going on, then correct them. And just be there for your people.
Okay. Thank you for joining me on the Nora Speaks podcast.
Of course, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, noramuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@noraspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.